This is the song we use because we're trying to wake up Bitcoin. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to wake up Bitcoin. So wake up, everybody, get out of bed. All right, that's the 4-hour chart of Bitcoin. And what you're seeing is that Bitcoin is now back down at 47,500. And the question is, was this whole run actually just a bull trap? Was it just trapping all the bulls? And are we going all the way back down like Richard Hart predicted? Or is this just a healthy correction? Well, to answer those questions, what we're going to do today is we're going to look at the on-chain metrics, we're going to look at the on-chart metrics, and we're going to look at the news that is causing the movements in the market. And also today we are speaking to the world's best investor. So the world's best investor is going to be on Banter, the world's best crypto investor. I didn't say that. Fred's looking at me, nodding his head, thinking I'm going to die. I'm fine, Freddie. I promise you I'm all fine. Fred's laughing at me. Okay, guys, I tested positive for COVID. I have COVID. So here I am. I'm going to do the stream. I'm going to keep trying to do streams until the COVID gets the better of me. But yeah, half an hour ago, I tested positivo for the COVID virus. So it may be maybe a bit of a slow show. But I wanted to come to you anyway because I think it's important to talk about that. So as I said, welcome to our channel. Subscribe to our channel. We do at least 2 streams a day. There will only be 2 streams today because I'm not feeling great. Maybe Sheldon will do a microdose. I don't know. We'll try and convince Sheldon to do a microdose if anything changes. Otherwise, welcome to our channel. Subscribe to our channel. Subscribe to our other channel called Microdose because that's where we bring you like a microdose of crypto content. Sheldon, what is this?
I'm just checking.
I can't believe you've done this to me. We're going to bring you back when I see it. Okay, so subscribe to our channel, subscribe to Microdose because that's where you get your microdose of crypto content. 10 minutes, absolutely no side effects for the people who are time-starved. Also, we will be giving away $10,000 on the stream right here today. Yeah, let's get on with the show because there's a lot to cover today. And I really, really, really want you guys to get all this information. We need to look on-chain, then we need to look on chart, and then we need to look at the fundamentals and see what's actually driving this market movement. And then we can decide whether this is a bull trap or whether this is a healthy correction in a market that's gone up for the last 4 weeks and gone up pretty aggressively. We have to be quite honest with ourselves. That is what we're going to be talking about today. And then also later on, as I said, the world's best crypto investor is coming on, and we're going to talk to him about how he sees the market. So I want to keep as much time as we can for that. Let us know in the comments who you think the world's best investor is. And it's a hint, it's not Freddie. We're not bringing Freddie onto the stream. We're not doing that. Alrighty, let's get into it. So Bitcoin has taken this little pullback, 47,379 right now as we speak. It has come down from all the way here, which was at about 50,000. So we've had about a 5% net correction. Let us look at what the on-chain metrics are saying about this correction first. And I think to start off, let's go to Will Clemente, the 14-year-old. He's not 14, he's a sophomore, so he's older than 14. He now changes his tune and he says, I am short-term bearish. He says there is a drop in the illiquid supply ratios and coins are moving onto exchanges, also seeing some selling from whales. So what he's saying is, if you look at the liquid supply, which is the coins that are moving onto exchanges, the illiquid supply, which is the blue line over here, which shows the coins that are illiquid, is going down, which means that the exchange supply shock ratio or tokens are moving back onto exchanges. And if you look at his next tweet, what he says is, here's the decrease in whale holdings. Maybe they're just waiting for a better entry, but after the big increase in the last few weeks, haven't seen much follow through. So if you look at the green line over here, the green line over here shows the whales dropping their supply. So that's pretty much what he's looking at here. That's what he's looking at. Also on chain, we see that long-term holders of Bitcoin have increased their long-term holdings to an all-time high. This is pretty interesting. And the reason why this is so interesting is because 2 things. One is, we know that now over 12.7 million bitcoins are held by long-term holders. Now, that's 12.7 million out of the 18.5 million that are in circulation, which means 2/3 are held by long-term holders. Even more interesting, if we look at what happened in the last cycle, and you can see the last cycle over here, what you can see is that at the top of the cycle, or once the whales started to sell, there was still a lot of upside in the cycle as they were selling. And you can see that right now they're still buying. So the whales are actually still buying. They're increasing their holdings, as you can see over here. If the cycle plays out like the cycle before, then what's going to happen is the whales are going to start dumping. And then when the whales start dumping, there's probably a few months left of a bull market because they dump into the bull market. They don't dump into the bear market. So that is what this is saying. That is what the on-chain metrics are saying. Let's look at what the on-chart metrics are saying. I guess that's also important. So, Dino, what are the charts saying, man?
Still on par, but obviously it's a bit, we're coming to test quite a bit here now. We are continuously coming down and test, especially on shorter time frames. This is my line, bud. This is my line. You know what I mean? We break this line, there's downside. If we are going to bounce, this is where we're going to bounce. So right now, there's still no volume. We can see that volume, there's still no volume backing. And we either usually get volume from a bounce on support, or if we obviously start to break this trend that we've started since the 29K, volume can start coming in. Definitely.
You're not worried?
No, not until this line is broken, no.
Okay, amazing. Guys, I do see in the comments that it's not in this video is not in 1080. I see that we can't change it during a stream. So you're going to have to live with it for this one, and we'll change it for the next ones. You can't change it for while we're on the stream, unfortunately. Shaldino, dominance. What's dominance doing?
So we have a look. Dominance. Still in the trend, but so this is our two little warning signs for Bitcoin. Let me just delete that out of the point. There we go. If Bitcoin breaks the support, as we saw over here, we break this trend line support, and dominance breaks this to the upside, as well as the USDT, which I can see is starting to get to a point where it can have a breakout. That is sort of giving us little indications that a pullback in the market is good. I still think, doesn't matter, even if Bitcoin does come back down to call it the 45. Remember, we still have the 200-day moving average. Let's just get that over there, which is sitting in around 46. So that is a main support. I don't really want us to drop. But obviously, if we do have some sort of pullback, still investment-wise, high time frame-wise, I'm still very confident with Bitcoin breaking the all-time high in the next few months. Short-term wise, I would be turning some alts if we break that, some alts back into Bitcoin, and just waiting a while until we get a bounce.
We're going to get back to that. I'm going to put you back in the waiting room, and then we're going to get back to that. So the chart metrics still not broken through the 200-day moving average, and still not broken through the trend line. So still safe when it comes to charts. On-chain metrics, some good, some bad. What we also know is that the Bitcoin network, have a look at this. The Bitcoin network has yesterday was the biggest day in Bitcoin's total transfer volume on chain. $188 billion moved on chain in the last yesterday, but in the last 7 days moving average. So this takes the last 7 days exponential moving average and shows that the Bitcoin activity is actually getting to an all-time high. So on-chain metrics look okay. Charts look okay. Is there any institutional demand? Where we check for institutional demand, we go to Bybit/Grayscale, and we see that the premium, the discount is still at 15%, which means there's not much institutional demand for Bitcoin. So all in all, looks like it's a quieter time for Bitcoin. What is driving this? What's the news that's driving the Bitcoin fundamentals? There has been one bad news. Not great news. I mean, bad news, great news. What do you think, Freddie? Yeah, the amendment. So remember that scary infrastructure bill where they lumped this crypto tax reporting into an infrastructure bill? Remember that? And then there was the one senator that didn't approve the amendment. And then what happened is it got passed. And then they have to vote on it on the 24th of September. So you remember that. Well, something else has happened there. And the latest news on that is that there has been a setback. And that is that the House Democrats on Tuesday blocked attempts to scale back the cryptocurrency rules tucked into Joe Biden's infrastructure plan. So basically what happened was there was an amendment and it was blocked. So they now can't put in any further amendments into this infrastructure bill, which is, I guess, just more bad news in terms of how they're going to regulate crypto. The scary thing here is that if this bill passes as it passes, then anybody who deals in crypto is going to be deemed to be a financial institution or a broker. And they're going to have to fill in a whole lot of forms, including a 1099 form and a whole lot of stuff about any crypto transaction. So if you're a validator, if you're a staker, anything to do where you touch somebody else's crypto and pay them, you're going to have to become a 1099, which is like ridiculous. Even if this bill passes, though, it's not the end, because the IRS has already said publicly that they're going to treat this differently from how it's worded in the bill. They've said that. So that's the only real bad news. I mean, is there other bad news in the market right now? Let's quickly check the markets. Well, no, that Binance news was taken off. There was Binance news that they were regulated in the UK, but it's taken off. So I think that's not happening anymore. Look, we do have history on our side. We have three things on our side that show that this may be just a healthy correction. In fact, there are probably five things that show that this is just a healthy correction. The first thing is that we're not touching or below that trend line. So if you look at Sheldon's chart, we're still not below that trend line. Very, very, very good sign. The second thing that we have is if we look at history, as I said to you guys before in the last couple of shows, history shows that we always have these corrections before a massive bull run towards the end of the year in crypto. It happens every single time. I have shown this to you guys before, but I'll show it to you guys again. Let's go back to 2017, and you can see that the history in 2017 was March, April, all the way up, all the way down, up in August, and then down over here in September. And the same thing happened in 2013. So that's what happened. That's what happens over there. We also now have a new chart, and this new chart is actually a fractal of gold in the 1970s. And that's what gold in the 1970s looks like. First, gold went to $1.2 trillion market cap, which kind of sounds familiar because Bitcoin is now at a $1 trillion market cap. Then gold retraced 50%, and then gold went to 5 trillion. Now that took all of about 6 years. So if you look at, or 10 years, depending on when you start counting it. Obviously, gold didn't have the internet, it wasn't as fast. But if you look at this and you compare it to this, so let's compare it to that. It looks very similar. I mean, you got to admit that it looks almost uncanny how similar it looks, right? Crazy. So that's another sign that we may be entering this period where Bitcoin starts looking like and behaving like gold, which is very, very, very positive.
That's also aligned with every other price target.
Yeah, it does align with every other price target. Plan B, we're not going to talk about him again, but Plan B came out again today and he said, look, we're on track. We're on track for the stock to flow model. He said, in fact, let's quickly go to his account. I don't want to waste too much time there. But if we look at Plan B, remember in June, Plan B said this was going to happen. He said this. And he said it in June when Bitcoin was at the bottommost point of the cycle, $29,000. Hold on a second. There we go. That's the tweet. And he said, August 47K, September 43K. And it does look like exactly where we're heading. So right now, I'm not too worried until the indicators change. I'm not too worried. I'm going to keep you guys updated as much as I can. I may be in bed tomorrow, but if I do, I'll just do it from home. I'll keep you guys super updated. I like this. Nayib Bukele, the president of El Salvador. Now remember that in about, Freddie, when does El Salvador go live? 2 weeks. So 2 weeks from today, El Salvador's law, a currency law, actually goes into effect and goes live. And they've been taking a lot of slack from the International Monetary Fund and the economist community, and specifically old economists like this guy called Steve Hanke. Now, Steve Hanke, or Hank, is from The Economist. He's an economist from Johns Hopkins. And he wrote, El Salvador has filed a law concerning the $150 million trust that guarantees Bitcoin USD convertibility under the Bitcoin law. But the new law doesn't say where the $150 million will come from or how guaranteed convertibility works. Nayib Bukele, incompetent and clueless, taking on the president of El Salvador. To which Nayib Bukele responded like a real degen and said, you should really go and take your pills. And that's exactly how I feel. What else? Before we bring on the world's best investor, and I'm telling you that he is the world's best investor, and we're going to spend half an hour digging into his brains and seeing what he's buying. And by the time you leave here, you're going to be geniuses, and then you're going to be like the world's best investor. He is the world's best investor. You'll see. So they think that an ETF may be on the way, but if it is an ETF, it's not going to be a Bitcoin ETF. It's going to be a Bitcoin futures ETF. Remember, Gary Gensler came out and said that a Bitcoin futures ETF is more likely to be approved than a Bitcoin ETF. Now, as much as I like a Bitcoin futures ETF, it does mean that no Bitcoin have to be bought on the market because it's a cash-settled ETF. It means that no Bitcoin are bought by the ETF. And why do we think that this is happening? Well, the economists have come out and said, from Bloomberg, came out and said, Van Eck and ProShares withdrew the Ethereum futures ETF, which is a good sign for the potential Bitcoin futures ETF, given the SEC has allowed those filings to remain active. So they're saying that because they withdrew the Ethereum ETF, it means that the Bitcoin ETF is still in play. And usually when they withdraw an ETF, it means that the SEC has asked them to withdraw the ETF. And since they withdrew the Ethereum ETF and the Bitcoin ETF is still in play, it means that they are expecting a Bitcoin ETF potentially sometime this year. And they're saying pretty much October. But more than that, what they're saying is that the SEC will probably approve multiple ETFs at once to avoid giving one company favoritism. So that's amazing. I think I would be much more excited about an Ethereum ETF, to be honest, because I think the action is actually happening on Ethereum. And we're seeing multiple metrics that tell us that the action is all happening on Ethereum. The new metric that we saw, or a new metric that we have seen, is the ETH small addresses. So the accounts that hold between 0.001 and 1 Ethereum compared to 0.001 and 0.1 Bitcoin. The red line is the Ethereum line, the green line is the Bitcoin line. And what you can see is that in terms of number of small addresses, you can see that the number of small addresses on Ethereum is growing much faster than the number of Bitcoin addresses, which shows that the growth of the Ethereum network is much more aggressive. Now, we've said a lot of times before that we're much more bullish on Ethereum than we are on Bitcoin, but I think that these small addresses are actually being driven by the NFT revolution. So I think it's all about NFTs, and NFTs, usually quite low value NFTs, and I think a lot of people are using them. That's these small accounts. Look at the numbers from OpenSea. Just look at the aggressive and exponential growth of NFTs. And no matter where you look today, it's all about NFTs. Visa bought that NFT. Visa published an NFT white paper, which we spoke to you guys about. And they mentioned Arweave in that white paper. Remember that. Budweiser allegedly buys the beer.eth domain for 30 ETH. Okay. And I'm negotiating with the terrorist about the crypto banter.eth domain. He now wants 2. He wants 2 Ethereum.
I'll bring it down. Wait, I got a message.
Okay, wait. Fred says he has a message. Let's see. His name is Collie Pixels, and he's got our domain, and he won't give us our domain unless we give him 2 Ethereum.
Got a settlement.
Fred says we've got a settlement. What's a settlement?
Discuss it now.
Wait, Fred, let's get you on the stream. I think we may have our domain. Hold on.
Okay, so let me just mute you here. Okay, so it included, can you still hear me when I change links? Okay, so it's included a little bit of extra, but we've brought him down to 1 ETH and a few extras. I can't discuss the finer details, but it's surrounding some business deals.
Let us know what you think in the comments. Should we buy this domain from the terrorist for 1 ETH? I think 1 ETH I think is fair. Listen, the guy does this for a living, and well done to him. He bought it before we did, but I mean, he's got a gun to our head now. Okay, so you let us know whether we should do it 1 Ethereum to buy our own domain back, and basically bring the kid home, bring the crypto banter.eth domain home. I think we should do it. Lastly, before we go into the world's best investor, and I've said to you before, he is the world's best investor. I didn't say that. It's as part of a survey that was done, which said he is the world's best crypto investor. And he's going to give us all his wisdom. Basically, he agreed to give us all his wisdom. Everything he's learned in the last 10 years, he's going to give us in half an hour. And his compliance has agreed. Everybody's agreed. Okay. One last thing. Facebook integrating NFTs into their new wallet, into the Novi wallet. Play that video. We had a video, right? Let's play the video.
You mentioned NFTs a few times. I'm curious just what Facebook is thinking about NFTs. Is this something that you're considering for creators that use Facebook or Instagram? What is kind of Facebook's feeling right now about NFTs as a product for consumers?
Well, it's too early to talk about our plans, but we're definitely looking at a number of ways to get involved in the space because we think we're in a really good position to do so. And when you have a good crypto wallet like Novi will be, you also have to think about how to help consumers, support NFTs.
Okay, so that's Facebook. We know Facebook's becoming a metaverse play. We know they're now integrating NFTs into their wallet. NFTs are going absolutely mainstream. Most of the NFTs are built on Ethereum, or right now are on Ethereum. Some of them are on Flow, the Flow blockchain. Some of them are on Cardano, and a lot of them are now coming to Solana. So we'll talk about that in a couple of seconds when we talk to the world's best investor, best crypto investor in the world. Any ideas who the world's best crypto investor is, guys? Let us know in the comments who you think the world's best. I'll give you a hint. It's not me. It's not Freddie. Tell us in the comments. Okay, so there was a survey done by Lobster DAO, and they recently summarized a ranking list of the crypto VCs. And you can't read that. No one can read that. It's impossible to read that. But they did cite that the world's best crypto investment firm is actually Multicoin Capital, and followed by A16Z, then Paradigm, then Three Arrows Capital. What they did here was they looked at two things. They looked at diamond hands, in other words, how much conviction they have and how well they hold their investments, and then also how much they help their investments. Because if you want to be the best investor in the world, it's not only about investing in the right protocols and the right projects, but also how they add value to the projects. And the number one, alongside Andreessen and Paradigm and all those other guys, is Multicoin Capital. So what I thought we'd do today is actually get one of the partners from Multicoin Capital to come on the show and tell us how they are seeing the market. Now, this is rare, to get Kyle Samani to come and talk to us about how he sees the market and whether he loves Solana, Cardano, Ethereum. That's what we're going to find out today. And yes, the world's best investor is definitely not BitBoy. I know you said in the comments, but I'm just reiterating, it cannot be BitBoy. He's not the world's best investor. The world's best investor is actually Kyle Samani, and here he is. Kyle, welcome, man.
Hey, Ryan, great to be on here. Good to be back. Good to see you again. It's been a little while since we got to catch up.
Yeah, it has been. Kyle, did you know about this Woo blockchain Lobster DAO summarized rankings of crypto VCs?
Yeah, someone mentioned it to me, but it's hard to overemphasize these things. It's best is subjective. We just focus on helping our portfolio companies out execute and then go win at whatever it is they're doing. So just walk us through what it means to be a good investor. How do you help the companies? What's a day in your life? Yeah, so I think in the most general terms possible, being a good investor means helping as much as possible. And there's kind of two ways to be helpful: proactive and reactive. So reactive is they ping you and ask you for XYZ, and like how fast do you turn around and respond? How fast do you get on the phone? If they ask for an intro, how long does it take you to write that introduction email? Most folks who kind of interact with me, I think one thing they're surprised about is how quickly I generally respond to things. I'm just always available on Telegram, on Signal, whatever, and helping. And then the other is proactive. So it's reaching out to portfolio companies and saying, hey, have you thought about XYZ? Here's a threat. Here's an opportunity. Whatever it is, and then helping them kind of reason through those things. And so we do that very closely with our portfolio companies, and are as engaged as we can be to help them ultimately succeed. And I think they really appreciate that as they see kind of how we help them over time.
Carl, you guys started Multicoin, if I'm not mistaken, about 3.5 years ago, 4 years ago?
Coming in on 4 years, yeah.
So just 4 years ago, I think I actually remember the meeting. I think it was in a hotel room. Was it Vegas, or it was somewhere where we had a dinner or a meeting? Can you talk about the size of your portfolio since then? Is it public knowledge? Can you give the viewers an idea of the size of the business that you guys have built in the last 4 years?
So I can't talk about specific numbers, but I can just tell you we manage a few billion in AUM now across 2 venture funds and a hedge fund.
So guys, just to give you perspective, in 4 years, these guys have become one of the biggest investors in the world in crypto. And yeah, incredible. I've been watching your progress. It's been absolutely incredible. Carl, you run a hedge fund and you run a venture fund. So let's talk about the hedge fund first. The hedge fund kind of makes you take positions on how you think, where you think we are in the market cycle. And so I'd love to hear your views on where you think we are in the market cycle. Are we going to see, according to your thesis, a 2013 type end of year, or are we going back down?
So Multicoin does not make price predictions on any assets, and of all the assets, Bitcoin is the one I have the least strong views on. We as a firm do not specialize in trying to time tops and bottoms. We focus on asset selection. So we spend all of our time thinking about what are the new DeFi primitives, what are the new Web3 primitives, what are the new Layer 1 assets, new cross-chain assets that are going to become really important in the years to come, and then accumulating big positions in those. That's really what we do. So I wish I could tell you if BTC is going up or down, but I have no opinion. So
the difference is when you're saying the hedge fund invests in listed tokens, narratives, and the venture fund it usually invests in pre-listing type tokens, right?
That's generally true. There's a little more nuance to it than that, but that's approximately true.
Okay, so let's then talk about trends that you're seeing now in the market that excite you and potential protocols that are filling those trends. Where is your eye now? Because I know you've got this knack for like seeing around the corner, seeing what's happening next. You've always been good at that. Yeah.
I think probably the most obvious place is DeFi on Solana. There's a lot of DeFi protocols that live on Ethereum, and you just need to recreate those primitives on Solana. Most of those teams have already received venture funding, and they're all launching their tokens kind of sort of right now. The most obvious example is Saber, but there's 4 or 5 others that are all launching here in the next month or so. Saber and Mango. I think if you zoom your horizon out a little bit further, the most interesting opportunity is really around NFTs and really creator monetization. The current batch of NFTs, like all the penguins and punks and art blocks or whatever, Fidenzas, those are very cool. It's extremely difficult to profit from buying those NFTs as an individual investor. And I generally discourage people from trying to flip NFTs. It is very difficult to do profitably. We have been spending a lot of time thinking about which types of fungible token assets can accrue value as that industry grows as a whole, and have been accumulating positions in a few assets along those fronts. But I think over the next, I think kind of the most interesting open question in the next 24 months is how do you get someone who's got 50,000 followers on TikTok or Instagram, or 100,000 followers on TikTok or Instagram, to produce a living, produce income, at least $50,000 per year, ideally $100,000 per year, so that they can sustain themselves from their audience using some combination of NFTs and social tokens? I spend right now the substantial majority of my time kind of trying to answer that question.
So you mentioned Solana and you mentioned DeFi projects on Solana, and I guess there's two narratives that are coming to Solana right now, or three narratives. One is, of course, the DeFi narrative, which is coming to Solana. NFTs, we saw a NFT launch on Solana last week. Was it last week or 2 weeks ago? Freddie, when was that launched? It was last week or 2 weeks ago. You also have trading. When I say trading, it probably could be put into DeFi, but Solana is a platform because of the speed and the low gas fees or low transaction fees, which is amazing for trading. How long have you guys been investing in these assets that are coming to Solana? And the reason why I ask that is because you seem to, if you've been investing for a while and they're coming on to the market soon, that could bolster the entire Solana ecosystem. So you could kind of see a big rise in Solana because all of a sudden we may see 100 projects coming to Solana.
Yeah, so Multicoin has invested in 8 or maybe 9 Solana-based protocols. The first one we invested in was Audius back in March, April of last year, and they announced that they were moving to Solana. I think it was September, October of last year. So that was Audius was first. In the last, call it 10 months, we've invested in 7 more. And today I would say we are getting, good Solana-based teams building, at least we're getting a few high-quality looks per week. So we've probably passed on 30 or 40, backable teams building on Solana. We invested for various reasons. Like for example, gaming. We've never really done gaming stuff. There's been at least 10 high-quality gaming teams. But yeah, there's just a ton of stuff, and they're all just kind of hitting the market now. So Mango hit the market like a week or 2 ago. Saber hit the market a couple of weeks ago. You're about to see like 5 borrow lend protocols hit the market in the next month. And you're just going to see NFT thing, gaming thing. They're all just going to keep hitting the market over the next few months.
Being part of the best investor club in the world, when things like Saber launches and you get multiples on your money, as a fund, do you then exit your initial investment? Do you take profits? Or do you sit back and say, look, we had a thesis about this company. We love the thesis and therefore we remain invested and we don't take profits out. We don't take our initial capital out.
Yeah, I'd say we are different than almost all of our peers in that we even after we cross 100x or more, we still keep holding. So for example, Graph and Solana are our 2 biggest positions. Both of them are up over 1,000x since we invested, and we're still holding our positions. Our view is we want to hold until the thesis is played out. If we invest and then 4 months later something's up 3x or 5x, we're not investing to make 3x or 5x. We're investing to make 100x or more. And so we are very patient investors. We let these teams build. We let them execute. We let them grow their network effects. And we let the thesis continue to compound. Compounding is an amazing, amazing thing.
Incredible. Gaming. You mentioned that you're not really big gaming investors. Having seen Axie, having seen what's going on in gaming, what's the reason that you guys aren't gaming investors?
Yeah, so we just don't have experience doing it. I know a few gaming VCs, and I know I've heard them ask questions in meetings and stuff, and I was like, man, I'm not qualified to know how to even ask these questions. So I just don't feel super confident in my own ability to assess gaming teams. I did spend a lot of time as a kid playing video games. So I'm not completely clueless, but I just haven't scientifically looked at the metrics and how to think about different kinds of games. And I haven't looked at the evolution of the gaming industry over the last 10 years. And again, there are people who they've done that and they've been following that closely for a long time. And so we just we know where we have alpha, and we like to stick to that. We continue to talk to gaming teams. We will, I'm sure, make some gaming investments in the next few years. I don't think it's going to be zero, but we are going to be not super frequent gaming investors.
Okay, blockchain smart contract layer 1. It sounds like Solana is your play. Does that mean that you're not very excited about Ethereum, not excited about Cardano, and this Goguen fork and smart contracts coming to Cardano?
Yeah, so I'm not as familiar with the exact properties of Cardano, but the biggest concern I have with it is that the Cardano team has built a custom virtual machine and a custom programming environment. Launching a programming language is a very, very difficult thing. Most engineers in the world tend to have a bias that's called not built here syndrome, and they tend to want to rebuild everything in themselves. Some of it's kind of control and knowledge, and some of it's just kind of not appreciating the work others have done. And whenever I see teams building custom programming environments, that's in almost all cases in the history of software, a red flag. There are a few examples, like in certain kinds of domain-specific languages, where that is actually a smart thing to do. But for the most part, building a custom programming environment is a bad idea. And isn't Solana
also a custom programming environment? Isn't
No, Solana, the entire code base of Solana is written in Rust.
Yes.
And Rust is the flagship programming languages for Solana. It is, and Solana is built entirely on the Rust toolchain. Rust is, I think it's 12 years old now or so, 13 years old. And the general rule of thumb, for anyone who's kind of been deep in computer science land, is that it takes 10 years to really mature a programming language in a toolchain. C++ was invented in the early 80s, didn't hit its stride until the 90s. Like the same as JavaScript, invented in the 90s, didn't hit its stride until the 2000s. It's just these things take a decade to refine perfectly and build the entire set of tools around them. Rust really just started to hit its stride 3 or 4 years ago. And if you go look at today, Stack Overflow, which is kind of like it's like the primary QA forum on the internet for programmers. They do an annual survey of programming languages, and the last 3 or 4 years, Rust absolutely dominates everything on every single survey. It's the fastest growing, it's the most loved, the highest rated developer tooling, just everything around that. And the fact that Solana has embraced that in every single way possible is going to give it just a huge advantage for onboarding new developers, for inheriting all of the resources that others have built, and just thriving in that ecosystem. The Cardano team is very capable and very smart, but I think it was a real strategic mistake to ignore the just enormous amount of work and that's gone into the Rust Foundation.
What about Ethereum and then BSC? So are you bullish on Ethereum? And I know at one stage you guys were very bullish on BNB, but I think it was much more the exchange than the smart contract platform. How do you see those two as base layers?
Yeah, so Ethereum has a tremendous amount of inertia, and that's not going away. The big question Ethereum has to answer is how is it going to scale? It's been Ethereum launched in 2015, and they knew even back in 2015 that what they had was not going to scale. And it's been 6 years, and they still don't have a good answer for how is it going to scale. I'm not saying they have no answers, but the answers that are currently visible and understandable are quite frankly just not enough. There's a clear path to get from, call it 1.5 million transactions per day to 15 million transactions per day. That's reasonable based on the kind of current understanding of where things are. But that's just not enough. You need to get to hundreds of millions, if not billions of transactions per day. And there's just not a clear roadmap to get there. And I think that's going to be a real problem because the definition of a growing platform is more people coming on board and more people doing more stuff, right? Like that is the definition. And if you don't have an answer to that question, then what do you do? So we're not bearish there. In fact, we're long ETH. We own ETH. That's a meaningful position in our fund. But I think the Ethereum community is really not appreciating how much demand there is for block space, and I just don't think they're responding quickly enough to grow block space for that demand.
What about BSC? So BNB/BSC.
Yeah, BSC is hard to reason about. have a captive user base on Binance.com, and they have built, the world's best exchange, and have the most users, most volume, and they're trying to transition that into a decentralized venue. There is natural conflict between Binance, the exchange, and BSC. In most of history, companies almost always, when faced with the kind of, the need to transition their business model from, desktop to mobile, or whatever, now in this case, centralized to decentralized, almost all of them fail. There are a few exceptions in history where companies make that transition, some sort of existential transition successfully, but it's just extremely difficult to do. It's unclear to me if is Binance going to be able to reorient itself around a decentralized future. CZ knows this is coming. He's been very clear about this. He has acknowledged this exact problem that I'm discussing in public, and I believe he is aware of it and is thinking very hard about how to address it. But it's just a very hard thing to do. So I'm not familiar enough with the Binance organization to have a view on how they are decentralizing themselves.
Binance or FTX?
So as a trader, FTX is my favorite venue because of the margining system. It is just so magical that all of my positions cross margin in a single account.
Yeah, I must say that is an amazing platform that they got. All right, so that's layer one. Let's talk about some more fun stuff. Cross-chain, Rune. Thoughts?
Yeah, so it's pretty. I think at this point it's pretty obvious that at least for the next 2 or 3 years, there's going to be a number of different blockchains, both layer ones and layer twos, BTC and ETH at a bare minimum. But Sol, Avalanche, Near, Polkadot, Arbitrum, Optimism, all these things, you're going to have liquidity siloed between these different places, and people want to trade between these different environments. And Thorchain presents a pretty compelling solution to move between these various chains. And so it's hard not to see a world in 12 months from now in which Thorchain is not being really actively used by people who want to be able to move, between these chains without hitting Binance or FTX or Coinbase.
Okay, and you mentioned Polkadot, and we've seen the first of the Kusama auctions, and there's a second batch of auctions starting next week, if I'm not mistaken. What are your thoughts on that ecosystem?
My biggest concern with the Polkadot ecosystem is it's just too slow. Polkadot, Gavin started working on it in 2016 and then kind of got more serious in 2017, and they held the ICO in October of 17. They raised a few hundred million, I think $150, $200 million. And then, their treasury's grown a lot. And I venture to guess they've spent at least $200 million in R&D. And it's been 4 years. And Polkadot is supposed to do two things. It is supposed to allow you to secure parachains, and it is supposed to allow you to have those parachains talk to each other. Right? Those are the two things it's supposed to do. Polkadot currently does neither of those things. Kusama does one of those things. Polkadot does neither. And if you look at thing number 2, which is the cross-chain communications, that is like a vague spec at this point. And 12 months is optimistic, but 24 months is probably more realistic. And so it's just too slow, I'm not sure why. I can't explain to you what's causing that, but I'm just very concerned given the financial resources that have been available. Why is it taking this long? For context, Solana launched in about 17, 18 months with $15 million in total spend. Just as kind of Ethereum Foundation launched ETH Layer 1 in about 14 months with probably $5 million, maybe $8 million in total spend.
I mean, am I understanding you right that you believe that if Solana continues as it is continuing, you think that Solana will actually be the winning smart contract platform and then could actually flip an ETH?
I believe in 5 years' time, Solana will have by far the largest number of daily users across every kind of application you can imagine. DeFi, Web3, social, NFT, and tokens. What will that mean for the price? Harder to reason about, but it's very clear to me which platform provides the clearest roadmap to getting billions of people to use these things.
And Solana is currently trading at a market cap of 20 billion relative to Ethereum, which is trading at about a 400 billion market cap. So if you're right, all things being equal, there could be a 20x upside in Solana.
Could be more, could be less, but yeah, we're very, very, very bullish Solana.
What about Arweave? I know you guys have a position in Arweave. Your thoughts?
Yeah, so we were one of the big early investors in Arweave. We accumulated our position in 2019 and continue to hold today. Arweave is, when we invested, we didn't know what it was going to be useful for, but we had this theory that this primitive, which was pay once, store forever, would be useful. We didn't know what it would be useful for, but we're like, this seems fundamentally interesting. Fast forward 2 years, and it's pretty clear there's two things that it's very obviously useful for. And I'm venturing to guess over the next 2 years, there's going to be a handful of more, big use cases that will emerge. The most important of those use cases is NFTs. People are creating art, they're creating profile pictures, they're creating whatever assets in the metaverse. And, if you're going to have the idea of digital ownership, you need to make sure that there's always, like, the blockchains like Ethereum and Solana will never support storing a JPEG natively in those blockchains. It's not in the architecture of those systems to do that. All they're ever going to store is a reference to a JPEG, which needs to be stored somewhere. And so the question is, do you store it on someone's server in their house, or do you store it on Amazon, or do you store it on a decentralized venue that's going to be there forever? And Arweave is pretty obviously the right answer to that question. And you're seeing, I think today, almost universal consensus among kind of all developers building on top of building NFT-related applications that Arweave is the right place for storage and retrieval.
I mean, it was in Visa's white paper, in Visa's NFT white paper, they mentioned that Arweave is the place to store NFTs. What's the second use case? So storage of NFTs is the first. What's the second one?
Yeah, so the second one is, if you look at every basically new blockchain other than ETH2, all of them have this problem of storing the history of transactions. So as you grow from, Ethereum is doing, call it 1 million transactions per day, so call it 365 million transactions per year. I can make a case that the world should be generating 100 billion transactions per day. And as you think about growing to that level of just absolute scale, the amount of data that goes into these systems just grows exponentially. If you want to retain history of where those who, like the entire record of history of who sent what transaction when, it's just not feasible to do that at that kind of scale in any of these native layer 1 systems, whether it's Solana, whether it's Polkadot, whether it's ETH2. It's just, you can't make those kinds of trade-offs to do that kind of storage. So, the Solana team was the first one to recognize this, and they said, hey, we are just going to dump the history of the entire blockchain into Arweave. And they called it the Solar Bridge, SOLAR, is a very, very clever name. And we're going to dump it into Arweave so that the entire record of Solana history from Genesis in March of 2020 all the way through today is there. And that bridge went live, I want to say 8 or 9 months ago. Scale announced something similar for the Scale chains. And then since then, probably over the last 4 or 5 months, Near, Polkadot, Avalanche, there may be some others as well, have all announced they're going to do the same thing.
Interesting. I mean, I'm a massive Arweave bull. I think I invested very, very early. I told the community this, so they know about it. And I think I'm holding that one for life. I keep buying actually every time there's a dip. Luna, Terra, lots of action going on there. Is that part of your thesis?
Luna ecosystem is super interesting. We have owned some at various points in time. I'm not sure if we own any now. We are impressed with the community around Luna. I mean, there's clearly people doing stuff and building stuff. We're still trying to kind of understand what are the new things that are unlocked that aren't possible elsewhere. So, for example, Ethereum kind of unlocked DeFi, obviously. If you look at Solana, the real unlock for Solana is Serum, which is a native on-chain order book. And if you look at almost all of the new Solana-based DeFi applications, almost all of them are built on top of Serum. Sam and the team at FTX understood that the single most important primitive in all of finance across every single financial application is an order book, is letting people post bids and offers on whatever it is they want to sell. Like that is the building block of every single financial application in the world. And they're kind of all the Solana DeFi applications are building on top of that. And that unlock, I think most people are realizing kind of the power of that. When I look at the Terra Rune ecosystem, it's not clear to me like what is that big unlock. The best answer is probably UST, which is the stablecoin of the Terra ecosystem, but it's not clear to me that's the same kind of unlock in a way that Serum was.
They haven't reinvented something. They haven't revolutionized something as much as that. Now, I never thought I'd ever ask a number one VC in crypto world this question, but I guess I have to ask it now, and that's Dogecoin. I mean, Dogecoin's been dead forever. But now with the foundation and Elon Musk and TikTok generation accepting it as money, as a VC, can you hand on your heart put Dogecoin in your portfolio?
We own some Dogecoin.
You do. Multicoin owns some Dogecoin.
Not a big position, but we have some Dogecoin.
What's the thesis?
We bought it yesterday, and I can't go into it other than we like Dogecoin. At least I like Dogecoin. Everyone else kind of hates it, but I like it.
I love it.
Fred, my producer, says he loves it. Carl, listen, it's been amazing. It's been too short, but it's been amazing. You've seen the comments, they've been going crazy. 8,500 people watching this. Thank you. Thank you, my friend. As you know, I am a proud investor in Multicoin. And watching you guys do amazing things makes me absolutely proud. Thank you, my friend.
Hey, Ron, thanks so much for having me on the show. Great to see you again.
Thank you, brother. Be well.
Bye-bye.
Told you we get you the best investor in the world. And I don't know about you, but that guy operates on another level. Really, he sees, like those chess prodigies, how they see 5 moves ahead. That's Kyle. He sees 5 moves ahead. Absolutely insane. He bought Dogecoin.
It's like we're playing checkers, playing 5D chess.
Yeah, we're playing checkers and he's playing 5D chess in the metaverse. Okay, I do want to look at this because Sheldon's showing me a chart here. Holy moly. We're bouncing. That's the 1 hour chart on Bitcoin. We are bouncing. Sheldino.
Yo, what's up?
Wow.
Buddy, as long as we hold support, remember there's been no volume to the pullback. And what I'm starting to see is on the 4 hour, the volume starting to come in. And it looks like it's at the upside at the moment. Look at the alts. Alts are absolutely, BNB is doing well. I see BNB is absolutely waking up. Look at that. That whole red day we've had has completely been engulfed by BNB.
Hold on, Freddie has an update. Freddie has an update, and he's negotiating with terrorists. So we need to
bring me on. Let me know when I'm on.
You're on.
Okay, so update. I've just received a message from a good Samaritan on Twitter saying, "Hey Fred, we've gotten your crypto Banter ENS address. Is there an address we can send it to the Banter team as a gift?"
Whoa! So it's a gift.
Wow.
Yes. She's coming home, baby. She's coming home.
Thank you.
She's coming home.
Amazing.
Whoever it is, Mr. Free Crypto, thank you. Fred, well negotiated, man. Fred's been in this for the last 12 hours. He's been negotiating with the terrorists. Well done, man. Freddie, well done, bro. Well done.
Thank you, brother. It's coming home. It's coming home, baby.
Well done, Freddie. Fix it, Freddie. Fix it, Freddie. All right, Sheldino, before we go, let's look at the charts. So Bitcoin is bouncing.
Yeah.
Fred, you got to change the name of the stream because the stream's all about bull bounce, bull bad. It's not right.
Okay, I'll change the bull to a bear and I'll change the red to green. Cool.
Okay, so listen, guys, I'm going to get into bed. I'm going to get into bed. I'm feeling like crap. Let me get into bed. If I'm better tomorrow, I'll be back tomorrow. If I'm not, Sheldino will do 2 shows. Maybe I'll just come on for a quick 15-minute stream from the bed. But right now, it's time for me to get into bed, look after my health, so that I can be here again in 10 days or however long it takes this COVID thing to pass. Hopefully, I'll see you guys soon. Trade well, my friends. Good show, guys.
Good shot.
Carl is an
buddy.
absolute beast.
Carl is
Yes.
fantastic.
Yeah, he's playing 5D chess while we play checkers. It's ridiculous.
I mean, that guy sees through. He sees through the trend.
Hey,
big wins.
Dogecoin,
Put a
Dogecoin, Dogecoin.
I told you. Fucking told you.
I mean,
The best investor in the world is owning Dogecoin. I don't want to hear another word about it.
Yeah.
Wow, that is absolutely insane. I mean, and he's like, yeah, we bought it yesterday. Yesterday, the price was 30 cents. They bought Doge yesterday.
Obviously,
Does that
watch
mean
the
when I
show.
bought the
You saw the
Doge dip
entry zone.
yesterday, I bought the same Doge dip as Multicoin? Is that what you're saying?
You paid 18 cents, didn't you?
I think less, 15. No, I
You
lied.
paid 15. They paid double. They paid 29 cents, 30 cents.
Ooh, they're taking CVs.
I mean, that's absolutely insane. Yeah. Shaldino, the charts are bouncing, eh?
They are, buddy. They must have watched the Doge chart yesterday. In the zone, out the zone. Here we go. That's looking good,
Unbelievable.
but this is where it can happen.